With reports of US and Iran talks appearing flimsy at best, and speculation about the health of the current supreme leader, some US analysts point to a different Iranian figure who could be fit for negotiations with the US. But Israeli officials are already raising concerns, and we'll get into that in a moment. But first, who are they considering? Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad-Bagher Ghalibaf. Ghalibaf, a former Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Air Force commander and Tehran mayor, has denied any talks with the US are underway. He has taunted President Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He has called the US-Israeli war with Iran a quagmire, and he served in the Iran Revolutionary Guard during Iran's brutal war with Iraq in the 1980s and is known as a hardliner's hardliner. Now, he has been described by some analysts as a wannabe strongman and a, quote, hardliner with a pragmatic streak. Ghalibaf is considered ruthless and ambitious, but also a competent manager. After a stint as head of the police, he became mayor of Tehran in 2005, a position he held for 12 years. As a politician, he is something of a populist. He has drawn allegations of corruption, which he has denied. He has been lambasted for allegedly amassing personal wealth. He has also bloodied his hands in suppressing political dissent. In 1999, he signed a letter along with other leaders, warning the reformist Mohammad Khatami, who was then president, that if he didn't crack down on student protests, they would. But while this assessment has been taking place, he's on X calling out the Trump administration directly. Our people demand the complete and humiliating punishment of the aggressors. He posted Monday on X. No negotiations with America have taken place. Fake news is intended to manipulate financial and oil markets and to escape the quagmire in which America and Israel are trapped. But if this is the case, and this is somehow the figure that the US thinks they can negotiate with or talk to, Israeli officials say not so fast. Israeli ambassador to the US, Yechiel Leiter, while speaking at an event this week, said, when this business about Ghalibaf came up, all of a sudden, this guy's a moderate. I'm here, I'm telling you, Ghalibaf is not a moderate. This may rile some feathers, but I'm committed to telling the truth. He also rebuked the notion that Israel dragged the US into the war. Leiter took pains to argue that there were no significant divisions between the US and Israel, saying the two governments had been in lockstep with one another since last summer's joint military operations against Iranian nuclear facilities. But, quote, lovers have spats too, he noted. Brett.
Picture it didn't happen. Who's making out? I want to watch them make love to each other. This is great. I just want to say, we're really bad at choosing the leaders of countries that we regime change. It doesn't work. And I don't need to look very far from this story to find evidence of it, but we the West, so to speak, put in the Shah of Iran, who was overthrown, and now there's this situation. This is, and I don't want to paint Iran as being dope. I don't want to paint a fundamentalist regime that quells protests and treats many women horribly. We all know, we can fill in the blanks on that. That said, it is insane to think that we could just put in someone who will do everything we want. And more specifically, when folks are like, this person is corrupt. A lot of the times, that's the thing we look for when putting in a new person in charge of a country, whether it's there or in South America. We rely on their corruption, but the problem with corruption is that person is always looking for the bigger, better deal, and everybody's characterizations of this next guy falls into that category. I feel like a lot of the times when people on the left looking at the right, or right looking at the left, they'll be like, I have to pick a side. This guy is either a good guy or a bad guy. in a situation like this country, you're probably just a damn opportunist, and you're probably wildly corrupt. And I don't really need to look at that country for evidence, because like here we have a lot of people in the bastion of democracy that is America who are wildly corrupt. And a lot of the criticisms levied against the Americans throughout all this, some of which you've read, is like, when I'm looking at these weird movements that I didn't expect from Trump, and I see giant swings based on threats and reneged threats that make certain commodities markets skyrocket, then crater, then skyrocket again, double down on it with Kalshi bets that are like a little bit ahead of the game. It just feels like, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that when people say America first or no more wars, and you can sign that petition for no more wars at tyt.com, like that's what we're talking about. We're like, what are we doing and why? Also, fundamentally, our relationship with Israel is, you can say, for the good of Judeo-Christianity. I don't really buy it. I think it's more to like safely control the waters of Congress so that like boats full of stuff can get there cheaply. And whatever we're doing now, regardless of if it's righteous or evil, opportunistic or responsible laying down of infrastructure for a prosperous future, in the meantime, it costs twice as much to fill up my tank with gas, and it didn't cost twice as much before you did this. So stop. So stop now. And creating more and more martyrs in Iran. Definitely, like for people who can't live in Iran and had to leave because of the revolution, like it makes them feel good, and I don't want to be smart, I don't want to take that away from them. But in the long term, I'm more likely to believe that like a recently martyred leadership will make it harder for the next person to support our goals, not easier.
In these types of moments, there's this level of American hubris that seems to dominate the conversation and affect people's judgment. Like you're pointing out, like that you potentially prop up somebody who might have a corruption streak because it could benefit you temporarily. Any outside interference, like, is going to upset people there. Like they're not stupid. And I think that so many US officials, not just Republicans, not just Democrats, across the board, I don't know if they completely discount that as a possibility, but they don't seem to treat it with the seriousness with which it is required. And we've seen this type of like propping up for decades, especially in Latin and South America, and how much backlash that inspires. And then as a result, how violent it can get in that country as a result, as they try to cling to power with our backing. One of the concerns that there's beyond this person to begin with, one of the concerns the Israeli officials even raised with the US was it's probably not the best idea to try to prop somebody up from the outside. Like there's just like a level of jingoism throughout our foreign policy in the Middle East that just treats them as like illiterate or subhuman, like, oh, these people can't think for themselves, they're backwards. And you've seen it in commentary for years. And here it is again, here comes the big macho US. No, this person's gonna be your leader. Well, that doesn't work. And that's also why it didn't work in Venezuela, despite the repeated attempts over the past several years. That's why they didn't prop up the opposition leader, because they knew there would be backlash. They don't have there's not a general consensus or popular support in that country for somebody different. So I don't know what this is going to look like. Maybe it is this guy, and maybe because he's associated with the regime at least, and the parliament speaker maybe. But I just, the idea of like a kingmaker, the US playing a kingmaker from abroad, is not going to end well.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.